welcome to the Secrets of Happily Ever After. I'm your host, Monica Tanner, and I'm so excited to introduce you to my guest today. He's a new friend. I met him at a conference just recently, and when I heard about the movement that he is forging right now, I knew that I needed to introduce him to you on the podcast. My friend is Scott Donnell. He is the best-selling author of Value Creation Kid, The Healthy Struggles Your Children Need to Succeed. With over 6 million families served, Scott is the leading voice in helping parents teach their kids good money skills. He's also the host of Smart Money Parenting, a worldwide top podcast for families. And now he's launching the world's first bank account for kids and teens that pays like a game called Gravy Stack. I am so excited to talk to you, Scott. Literally, I feel like this is one of the most important skills that we as parents can share with our kids, but not, all of the emotional things that's really important for parents to do, but like a tangible skill. And I have a story to set this up, and then I'm totally so excited to learn about what you're doing. But
Let's go.
my son just turned 12 last week. And so, of course, he gets all of this money from his grandparents, right? And so he's got this stack of cash just burning a hole in his pocket. And he's like, Mom, gets on Amazon. He's like, Mom, I want to buy all this stuff. And I'm freaking out, oh my gosh, you have hundreds of dollars that you're just going to throw away. But it was such a great opportunity for me to have a conversation with him about the value of money and saving and being on the right side of interest. And I think that most of us as parents shy away from these conversations because we think that our kids can't really understand these concepts or nobody really taught them to us. And so I think there is this huge kind of hole in the market. How do we teach our children healthy money habits and concepts and things like that? So I was so excited to meet you, and I'm so excited for you to talk to us today. Welcome, Scott. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing great. I'm doing great, Monica. This is going to be an awesome conversation. I think money is the one of the biggest issues actually in the home. So we interviewed, I'll tell you this real quick. We interviewed 1,000 families when we started this thing. Okay. So the mission of Gravy Stack, our app, is to help 50 million kids and parents become financially competent and ready to succeed in the real world. And so when we started this, we interviewed 1,000 parents and we said, tell us about what's going on in your home with money. Okay. Kids, we interviewed the kids too.
Yeah.
What's your issues with money? What do you love about it? How do you think about it in the home? Here's what we found. The parents overwhelmingly said, we have no roadmap. They basically said, we're going to try to do allowance, maybe we know it's not a good idea, but we don't know how else to do it. And so maybe they split it up into their jars of saving, spending, and giving. And then maybe we'll do a lemonade stand when they're 8 to 12. And then when they hit puberty, we'll get them a bank account. Literally, that's what everybody said. And then the kids were the most interesting response. Overwhelmingly, the kids said, I don't want to talk about money. It's the biggest fight in the home.
Wow.
And, intimacy and money.
Yeah.
Those are the two issues. Kids don't hear about the first one because that's in the bedroom.
Mm-hmm.
But the kids hear money stuff all the time. We can't afford this. Do you know how much that costs? Money doesn't grow on trees. Do you know how hard I work to get you this and you just blow it? So what happens is money just becomes a non-conversation in the home. So kids want to run from it because they don't want to start conflict. Parents don't know how to communicate these skills to their kids. And if money is seen as a bad thing, that's a poverty mindset, right?
Mm-hmm. It's a very charged topic. And I think growing up, most of us had a very deficient language about it. Like money doesn't grow on trees, like that type of thing. It's just a very, poor mindset.
Yeah. And then the schools, you think about one thing I can help with your audience is we have to stop outsourcing our parenting.
Mm-hmm.
We outsource parenting all the time without realizing it. We outsource it to schools, and it's fine to go to school, but if you expect the schools to teach your kids all these things, that's not the answer, because schools aren't teaching critical thinking, a lot of practical skills. They're not teaching money at all, because you can't homework money. It doesn't work. Just because you learn math doesn't mean you're good at financial skills.
Right.
And then, we outsource it to camps and sports and church to try to get our kids all the values and skills and belief systems. And we forget that this stuff happens around the dinner table,
Mhm.
right? We have to make sure that we're teaching our kids the right things before they go out in the real world. And so that's why we built this company. That's the
Yeah. Well, tell us more about Gravy Stack and your mission and how it like works in the home.
Yeah. So we want to basically operationalize the right systems in the home for parents to be passing on the right money skills to their kids, the right value systems. How do you stay deeply connected as a family, when your kids go off
Yeah.
into the world? So we train on all these things. And so what I've been doing over the last 15 years is working with millions and millions of kids. Okay. So here's my quick origin story.
Yeah.
My wife, sweet Amy, we have 4 little kids. She spent her whole paycheck on her first graders as an elementary school teacher. It was about 15 years ago. And I said, "What on earth are you doing?"
Mhm.
She's like, "That's what we all do. That's what teachers do. We give back." Um, and she was making $38,000 a year, by the way. And I was like, "Okay, we got to stop this right now." So I started Apex. It was my first company. Apex Leadership Co. It became the largest school fundraising franchise in America. So millions and millions of families served. We're in 45 states, about 600 employees. We've raised over $500 million for schools. And we do it by teaching leadership and character traits and doing a big fun run at the end. If you've ever heard of the fun run industry, we
Yeah.
basically helped launch that whole thing. And so now we're in, 10,000 schools we've served all across America. But the first thing I saw was, what is going on? Why are they not learning the simple stuff? Earn, save, spend, share, invest, budgeting. Like they're not learning these things. And they're not learning the critical thinking, asking the questions that they need to ask to really get these things learned. And so I really made it my mission starting about 10 years ago to try to solve this issue.
Mhm.
Gravy Stack is only a couple years old. We're just getting off to the market the last few months, but it's taken 10 years to help 6 million families to learn this stuff. And so the first thing we started doing was business fairs. Okay. Little business fairs where kids bring their products to a little market. We set up
Yeah.
tents on a Saturday, and they learn all about COGS and profit and how to pitch, making things with their hands, helping other people. That we did that. Now there's 1,600 of those fairs all over the world. We created childrensbusinessfair.com. So we've been teaching kids, like doing these, like teaching them the economy and everything, the 5 Ps of entrepreneurship. And it's been a blast. But then I started getting emails and texts from parents, years later. They're like, "Hey, just so you know, this was the best thing my kid ever did growing up.
Mm.
It's the best thing they learned ever. Now they're paying for their own college. Now they have their first incredible job. They're 20, they're 22. They're fully financially ready. And I am amazed that they only learned this through the business fairs, right? So that's how this whole thing started. So then COVID hits and we launched myfirstsale.com, basically helping kids launch their own Etsy's.
I was gonna say, I actually think that I've purchased things from
Yeah.
kids that are doing that. Yes, cool.
Yeah. So basically helping tens of thousands of kids launch their first little business.
I love it.
All the training, all the checklists. I think the kids made on average $800 in launch day on average. But it's so cool when a kid makes something with their hands that's of
Yeah.
value to somebody else. They get unbelievable capability and confidence to succeed, like for
Yeah.
life. They're not going to worry about what job they're going to have. They're ready to like create value.
Yeah, I was
And
gonna say, I think that's the key when they learn how to create value and then they
yeah,
get paid for it. That's because as parents, like the easiest thing to, yes, exactly. The easiest thing to do is to like do allowance. And I know this, like, I have 4 kids too, and they're teenagers now, and, we're doing a lot of different things. But when they were little, it was like, clean the toilet and it's just like a difficult thing to figure out. So
right.
yes, teaching them value creation is what then you get paid for is amazing. So looking, and I know you do this, looking for ways to create value in the home
That's it.
is like the best thing you could ever teach your kids.
Yeah. So we've been Gravy Stack basically launched out of all of this,
Yeah.
right? Because we wanted to say, oh, okay, kids only learn in 2 ways: having fun and real life experience. When
Uh-huh.
you combine those things together, fun and real life experience, then it goes into their long term. It's intrinsically motivating because it's fun. and it's practical skills because it's real life. And so we thought, what's the way to do that with financial skills? Oh my gosh, a bank that's a game for kids and teens. So
Yeah.
that's why Gravy Stack started. And the number one winner of our app is called the home economy. Okay. Let me explain this to you. It's
Yeah.
what the best families in the world have done for decades and decades, but they all had to use like whiteboards and sticker points, total system. It was a nightmare, right? So
Yes.
we just automated it in Gravy Stack. This is why it's ripping. So the home economy is this. It's the 3 E's to replace allowance, because allowance doesn't work.
Right.
Allowance just they don't need to learn how to spend your money, right, Monica? They don't
Yes.
they you can't just give your kids money and expect them to be financially competent. They have to earn, right? And then they have to have expenses to cover that are their own, right?
Yeah.
And so what we built was the 3E system. The first is expectations, then expenses, then extra pay. So expectations, you should never pay your kids to make their bed and clean their room, do their homework on time, brush their teeth, dishes, trash. Like those things are your role in the home. Okay. That's your rent,
I
kid,
love it.
right?
Yes.
So you set those up first in the app. These are your expectations. Well, then the second one is the expenses. This is where most parents go wrong. They pay for everything for their kids,
Mhm.
right? And they don't pass off expenses. So kids learn to plan ahead and start to budget. And so there's 12 categories of expenses that we have that we've studied that most kids should start covering on their own by age 6 to 16. So by the time they get their driver's license, they're basically ready to go, right? And then
Wow.
they're doing
Yeah.
gas and insurance as well. And you should match their savings for their car and pay for half their car, because then they'll treat it like it's gold, right? So the expenses are things like this: trinkets, toys, games, any tech. Make them make the money for their first phone when they're in their teenage years. Okay. Social outings with friends, social trips that they want to go on, birthday presents.
So
This one is awesome. Like, how many times have we as parents bought the present, wrapped the present, put all the froofy things?
hand it to the kid. Here you go.
Yeah, and they chuck it on the table when they get there. They don't even know what it is half the time. And that kid doesn't learn generosity. But if you have them make the $15, get the present themselves, help them wrap it or put it in a bag, then they will run into the party, hand it straight to the kid and say, "Open this right now. I want to see your
Yep.
face."
I was gonna say, I think I accidentally got that one right. Like my kids pay for their own gifts and they're so generous. They're so excited to pay
Yeah,
their hard-earned money for this gift for their friend.
that's right. So that's a generous kid for life. And so there's just so many things like that that parents need to start passing off. And when you think that way, guess what? Now you have hundreds and hundreds of dollars a month that the kids are now in charge of paying for. And now you can give them extra pay, which is the third E. So now you have gigs. That's what we created. There's 50 action gigs and 50 brain gigs that you can give your kids around the house, and it's auto repeating in the app. So you set it once and then auto repeats daily, weekly, monthly, or one-offs, right? Throughout your life. Now you have your home economy system built. These are things like sweep the garage or clean the garage, wash windows, make a meal, clean a bathroom, organize a closet, sweep the common areas, make sure you're doing yard work. There's like 10 things in the yard kids can do. Planning for the family trip. What if your kids budgeted for the whole trip, right? What if they planned it out, got 3 flights and hotels and 3 types of car rentals or Ubers or where you're going to eat, and then they budgeted and planned it out themselves? I'd pay my kids for that, right?
Yeah,
What incredible skill building. We actually have a game in Gravy
exactly.
Stack. There's a game in level 3 that does that for kids.
I
It's
love
amazing.
that so much because they're creating value in the home. And instead of just like thinking, because I think parents get in the mindset too, like these kids are so expensive, like, like they take all my money, blah, 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 and it's like the parents' mindset. But I'm like, if they're creating value in your home and earning that money, it's very, very different.
Exactly. Exactly. This is how a kid learns to budget. They start having expenses to cover and then extra pay opportunities. And with us, it's auto repeating. So you get an email on Sunday morning to just throw on the fridge, print it out, put on the fridge, and they know exactly what's expected of them, what expenses they're planning ahead for, what gigs they can do around the house to cover it. And now these kids start planning ahead on their own. This is how you learn budgeting, goal setting, the price of goods. like trade-offs. I don't need the Air Jordans. I'm good with the Reeboks, mom, right? Like this is how they learn those things. And so with us in Gravy Stack, the average kid is doing about 5 to 7 gigs a week. The parents are reporting this is like huge transformation in the home. No more conflict over the chores. Kids are never asking for money ever again. So the greedy gimmies are gone. And within about 3 or 4 weeks, the kids start coming to the parents with things they want to do on top to earn a few extra bucks.
Because
And
they're looking for ways to create value, which is
that's right.
beautiful.
That's the whole point.
They're seeing, they're like, oh, that's entrepreneurial. They're like seeing holes, like where can I create value in our home economy? I love it.
Exactly. And I think this, so, with millions and millions of kids now that we've seen, only 5% of kids are entrepreneurs. Okay? This is Gino Wickman, the founder of EOS. He wrote The Entrepreneurial Leap. He's an investor in Gravy Stack. He's a good friend of mine. Well, he's seen through all of his research, and we have proved it out. Only 5% of kids come out of the womb and they're like, where do I make money, mom and dad? Where do I solve these things, right? But 95% of kids aren't. But I believe that every kid needs to learn to become entrepreneurial. Okay. And what that means is you're a problem solver. You find wants and needs for other people. You have empathy, customer service, good listening skills. I mean, this is what makes a great friend, right? These are critical things that kids need to start thinking through around the world. This is the fastest way to a promotion, right? Or getting the job. Like having this mindset of creating value around you is a critical skill for kids. And that's why we named the book Value Creation Kid, right? Like that's the whole point. It's the number one strategy of all of these best families that we've studied for the last like 5 years straight. We tried to find the best families in the world and how they raised kids and grandkids, some of them even great grandkids, and how each generation blew by the previous generation in every aspect. So we wanted to learn from them. And the number one skill of our 23 strategies is the value creation mindset. Teach kids to create value first, not money. Money is a store of value. Kids need to learn that first, right? Money's not good or bad, right? It's a tool, and it's a store of value. One type of value. There's 3 types of value that we train on. So that's why it's so important for kids to have this lens. And if you do this right, literally it solves so much of the exhaustion in the home, all the conflict, the cycles that parents get in, and then this causes issues in their marriage and they struggle with these things with the
Oh,
kids
totally.
behavior.
Money stories are like one of the number one things that I talk about. Like people will come to me for intimacy for sure. But I'm
Yeah.
like, how is this playing out in your financial intimacy, right? It's
Yeah,
always a huge deal.
it's a huge one. And parents say this, so this is for a lot of the first gen wealth families. You made it, you come from crazy and you're doing great. There's a lot of young families like this, millennials, Gen X, a lot of people like this. Well, what they do is they say, I just want to give my kids all the things I never had.
Right.
I want to give my kids all the opportunities I never had. I just want to make sure my kids don't have to deal with the stuff I had to deal with coming up. Well, what made you, Monica?
Right.
Like,
Right. Right.
how did you become who you were? You were refined through healthy struggles. And what we're saying is don't pass on trauma. Don't pass on abuse and neglect and tough love. That's not what we're saying at all. Actually, our goal is to have you be more connected to your spouse, deeply connected to your kids, like give them roots and wings to soar.
Yeah.
And so that's what we're saying here with these healthy struggles, right? We have 90 of them in the book, and how you can help your kids every month create a simple list of, all right, what are the emotional skills, the relational skills, the practical skills, the business skills that we want to pass on to our children. And you just put them in simple situations and processes in the home to learn those capabilities. And then they gain confidence from that, deeper connection in the family. And then now they're creating value everywhere they go. Like we want 50 million Gravy Stack families. Like this is the point. If we do this right, which it's starting to rip, the app is starting to take off. If we do this right, we will have an entire generation of families, not just kids, families that are like deeply capable, confident, and connected. And
Which I
that's
love so much, because I think kind of what I'm noticing is, especially my husband owns his own business. He hires a lot of employees. And so like, I think we have this problem of kids growing up super entitled and they just want this lifestyle. They don't actually want to do any work or create any value. They just want to have this lifestyle. And so I feel like my husband is like continuously having conversations with these kids that are kind of, growing up, and it's time for them to be on their own, and they have no understanding of how
Right.
this really works.
That's right. I feel like here's a tip for the parents. Stop asking kids what they want to do when they grow up, because most kids and teenagers have no idea of anything more than your job and maybe one or two others.
Right.
Okay. And most kids, when you ask them, because we do this with millions of kids at Apex, what do you want to be? What do you want to do? And everyone says now, they used to say like astronaut, teacher, doctor. Now everyone's like, I want to be famous on social
I want to
media.
be an influencer, a YouTuber.
Yeah, I want to have the jets and cars and houses and lifestyle of these people that I'm seeing every day. Well, you got to stop asking kids that question. What you should ask kids is like, what lights them up? What skills? Let's focus on skills, not careers,
Mm.
because skills are the focus. That is, if let's, for instance, if I love making other people feel great when I talk to them, that could be a therapist
Yeah.
or a psychologist or a counselor. That could be a comedian,
Mm-hmm.
right? If I love to write and really like write compelling things, and I'd love to write, well, that could be an author, that could be a blogger, that could be a sales copywriter, which is
Mm-hmm.
like 5 times the value on average. There's so many things that you can do when you focus on skills first with
Yeah.
kids. And so you want to focus on honing like these capabilities within your kids, because now the landscape of what they can do with it is wide open. And I think that's what a lot of parents miss, is like when you ask your kids, what do you want to do? They're like, whatever you do, mom and dad, like, because
Right.
that's
Of
all they
course.
know.
Of course.
So we have to focus on that piece. And once a kid learns skills to create value for other people, like the whole world is their oyster. There's like zero fear. This takes away all that anxiety and mental health stuff that's going on. There's so much of that happening. Kids fear the future,
Mm-hmm.
right? I mean, we study Gen Z and Gen Alpha that's my life. Gen Z is the least invested generation in history. And you got to ask yourself what's going on
Yeah.
based on us at that age.
Yeah.
Well, 2 huge recessions and a pandemic. And so they don't trust things already. And do you know what the fastest social media accounts right now are growing for young people?
Mr.
Crypto
D.
trading,
Oh,
day trading,
yeah.
get rich quick trading. You can make $1 million this next 3 months if you follow this strategy. And so young people
Mm-hmm.
are falling prey to this, and they lose a few $100, $500, $1,000 when they're young, or like 18, 19. And then they say, forget it. I don't trust any of this. It's all a scam. Right. So then they're not investing in real estate or ETFs or the stock market or anything. They're just like, forget this. I'm just going to live for today,
Right.
enjoy my life now. And now you've got all these, I think the stat that I just saw was less than 1 in 4 22-year-olds is financially independent, and less than 1 in 4 25-year-olds right now passes a basic money test. Like basic, like what's interest basic.
Okay, Scott, because I'm sitting here and I'm going, okay, if there's moms and dads out there listening, grandparents out there listening who are like, okay, you're right, we have a problem. Like they're all like seeing, they're all seeing the writing on the wall. Because I know I'm like, okay, I've done a few things right, but oh my gosh, there's more. Okay, how do we get in touch with you? How do we get a hold of you? How do we help ourselves help our children?
Okay. Well, first of all, you and I are going to do our free training for everybody.
So
Okay.
excited.
You can only do so much in a half an hour, but if you give me like an hour, I'll give you 10 times as much. So let's do a follow-up training for anyone listening to this. Let's put that link in the show notes to get them to
Absolutely.
our training together. And we'll go through the top 3 strategies of the best families in the world and how they pass on the money skills. Okay. We'll
I
go
love
through
it.
that with everybody. But I think the best thing folks can do that are listening to this, download Gravy Stack, and just start the games and start the accounts. If you have kids 6 and up, or even grandkids, we have college kids playing this too, by the way. And they just download Gravy Stack, start going, bring your family through it. And then if you put in family 23 as your code, just family 23, then they'll get a free month just to get in there, try it out. The average kid is saving mom and dad like $600 in the first month of Gravy Stack. They're canceling subscriptions, they're getting coupons, they're learning all these cool skills. to be able to help mom and dad in the home. And then obviously they're doing gigs outside the home in the first couple months, right? They're flipping things at garage sales. Like they're learning all these critical skills to be successful. So that's the perfect starting point, is try it out for 30 days, go to Gravy Stack app. You can download it in this Apple store. You don't have to have your own phone. Your kids can they can use yours, or they can use an iPad, but really they're not even in the app that much. They play the games for 20 minutes and then they go out and do the real life challenges. So most of it is just like them leading them into the real world to do practical things.
The
So that's the
potential
best
of
way.
this is so exciting. Like I'm really so excited. Like I want with so much enthusiasm tell the people who are listening, like, don't wait on this anymore. Like you're probably thinking like, oh, I'll put that on my to-do list. No, go get Gravy Stack right now, start looking at it, get familiar with it. And then I'm going to come back with Scott. I'm going to tell you how you can learn how to implement this right now. I literally don't think there's too much more important things that you could be doing for your children right now.
Oh my gosh. Thank you, Monica. This has been so good. And, I think when it comes to the moment you have kids, like in a marriage, so much of the focus changes. And I think what people miss is part of the reason the focus changes is not just because you have new humans in your home.
Mhm.
Part of the reason the focus changes is because parents go, holy cow, I need to learn like 50 more things to be able to raise good humans.
Mhm.
So I think a lot of marriages, like, one of the hardest things that you can do is like take your focus off each other in marriage and give that love to your kids first. That's how marriages get really hurt. But I think a lot of it, people don't realize, is like the stress is from parents going, I don't even know how to do any of this stuff. So now they're like trying to they're behind the 8 ball for 18 years. All right. And our goal is like, okay, let's get you way ahead of the 8 ball. Let's get you way more prepared, get systems in your home to really relieve the stress, relieve the behavior issues, the conflict, the arguments, the problems that happen as kids grow, so that you can protect your marriage, right? So that you can focus on the most important relationships. That's the point of all this. Like we want strong families, not just like raising good kids to become great adults. Your kids need to see your marriage
Yeah.
be strong.
Yeah.
And that's what we're trying to help. So yeah, we're in alignment 100%.
100%. 100%. I love it so much. Well, thanks for your time today, Scott. And I'm really, really excited to continue on this journey and help parents really set up great money systems in their home to alleviate all of that stress and all of that burden, and like really equip your kids to be happy and healthy and productive contributing adults in the world. So thank you again so much. And we'll talk to you very, very soon.
All right. Thanks, Monica.
To learn more ways to deepen your intimacy and strengthen your relationship, make sure you watch this video next.